Thank you, Dr. Bharat Bhushan, Dr. Pateria, and our director, Dr. Nakul Parashar. Uh, uh, I think, and all our participants, I would like to welcome all of you uh, into the community of science communication. I would I would like to welcome all our participants into the community of science communicator, because I look at the role of AWSAR not confined to this competition only, but we expect that you are not only talking about your primary research, but also you can take the clue from the secondary research which you came across during your research and communicate to the common man, because uh, this communication, if we go, because it was actually what Dr. Pateria has said. Just I want to give a perspective to that, because it was 1950 when, especially after the World War, most of the country used science and technology as an engine for their socio-economic development. But there was a fear in the mind of people, and also the scientist was working in isolation. They were not journal people were not knowing what exactly our scientists are doing in the lab. Because of this Manhattan project, it has created that some mischievous can be done by scientists uh, without declaring what they are doing. And also then in 1950 also the concept of this two culture came, where they say the culture of science work differently than the common people's culture. So, and there is a need to bridge the gap. And here the concept of science communication, like taking science to the people, that emerges. And now we see, especially if you look at the sustainable development goal, within that now the developmental parameter are three. It has the development has to be seen in not only the economic aspect, but the social and the environment aspect also. So this contribution, until unless people will know how a technology or a particular science or the direction of the science is being taking place in the lab, how the support of people will come. Because being in a democratic country, the money for the research is coming from the public funding. Even if you take an example of India, even still I think it's more than 90% of our funding comes from the public money. And then it is necessary that we should communicate science through all possible medium, whether, as Dr. Pateria told, whether it's a folk media, electronic media, or not only through the print writing only. And but in what way we should communicate science? Because this is a very famous share by Ghalib Sahab. Because I'm not sure, actually I tried to find the original author of this share, but I was told that it was written by Ghalib. Especially his poetry was not understood by majority of the people at during that time. Now we know he was a great poet, but when the in especially this Bahadur Shah Jafar's quote, people were not able to understand. So look at this share. This is the magaze ko baag mein jaane na dijiyo, नाहक खून परवानों का होगा. Now the Galiba is saying he don't allow the honeybee to go into the garden because it will unnecessarily kill the insect. Now the question was, there was many layer to this share, which were not directly connecting the meaning of this share. Uh, if we interpret this, the meaning is like that: if we allow honeybee to go into the garden, it will make nectar, and if you make nectar, it will also make the wax. And if the wax is made, the shama will be made, means the mombatti or the candle will be made. And when the candle will burn, the those insects will come near that. So that means if we don't allow the honeybee itself into the park, we can save that killing of those insects. So you can see how complicated this was. And to his shairi, there was an another, there's this shair in the court, who was Muhammad Taki Mir. He said, uh, then he made a very relevant statement, or it was again in the form of a share. They say, आपने कहा और आप ही समझे तो क्या समझे, कहने का मजा तब है जब एक कहे और दूसरा समझे. Means like, if I'm saying something like what the way the Galib share, he made a comment on that like that. And कहने का मजा जब है जब एक कहे और दूसरा समझे. Now this legacy is still continuing, because and I take like all our scientists, majority of them, not all, as a Galib, and journal people is making a complaint to understand about their science in that way. Suppose a media person is approaching you, is saying, tell us in layman's term, what is your breakthrough uh, in your research. So what scientist is saying, it is showing him or giving them this formula. So now, how this journalist will understand? Because in 1984, there was a one uh, report. It came from Britain, where it is called Bodmer report. They said there are four target group for the science communication. Mainly is the policymaker, the political headship. Second is the media, and third is the industry, and fourth is the common people. Because if you can, if we look at the corona epidemic, especially in the context of USA, you can easily understand when the political leadership is not convinced about the science, especially about the coronavirus science. I think you can see the number of casualty and kind of problem which this country has faced, because this was one of the reasons, because political leadership was not able to appreciate the science or this pandemic itself in its scientific way. Like the industry, because in India getting a funding from the government is very easy. But if we take the example or the parallels from the European and American country, where it's very difficult, the support for a research has to be mobilized by involving the industry. And in our case, what is happening is, majority of the cases, the fate of a research is like a publication of a few paper, and then the it comes to an end there. And I heard somewhere like, many of those innovation or the technology which are currently in the market, especially if we look at the China, are coming from their main source, or more their science is the Indian paper, because India is now number third in terms of publishing the research paper, and ahead of India is only the America and China. So at this much research, quantum of research we are producing, but we are not able to communicate it to the people in terms of that it can be further taken to its logical conclusion. If suppose if a industrial is in a position to understand that science, a new startup can be the outcome, but it is not happening. And also now, if we have now the science communication, as Dr. Pateria told you, taking a informed decision about the happenings. Now, we also have the social media, where everybody has become a consumer as well as the creator of content, and all kinds of information uh, or misinformation, which are not very scientific or not at all scientific, are available on social media. Now, question is here, I will take a right decision in taking a course of further steps. Let's take an example of corona. Why in many of the countries? Because I think we can say that I think we are not able to communicate properly to the people about the science of coronavirus, how it spread, and what is the significance of hand washing. We have told them you adopt this practice, but what is the science behind that practice? That aspect has not been very well communicated to the people. I think this is, I can say, a lack of patient training in terms of, because most of these reporting are being done by the people, they may or may not have a scientific background. So this is one reason we want, like, all our researchers should come within the community of science communicator, and they should convey the right science to the people. The basic purpose is again, as Dr. Pataria told you, to create awareness, to enhance the spread and depth of scientific knowledge, and build capacity to communicate what we are trying through this AWSAR program, and empower fellow citizens through participation and engagement for informed decision making. These are the major, you know, key objectives. But Dr. Abdul Kalam, I think in 2010, we had a one international conference on science communication, where he said like the basic purpose of science communication is like it should create a enthusiasm about science. It's not a fear. It should create a fear or some doubt in the mind of people, but an enthusiasm there. Yes, here is a tool or a method by which I can it can solve our social, economic, and environmental problem. And then everybody, because we need a people's support, so that everybody should be aware of what is the scientific breakthrough is going on around the world, especially if we take the example of India, and also now the issues like the climate change and global warming, how the stability of this planet Earth could be maintained with the help of science and technology. And then again, this is all over the world where the students are not taking opting science as a career. So this is again one objective of the science communication, to so this, when you are writing an article popular way, in a popular way, I think you should keep in that mind, because if we don't, this is the paradigm in which, like, you have to think when you are conceiving or conceptualizing, or you're designing your article on based on the research which you are doing. And these are some of the institutions where we need, or we have to provide the input, or where for an ordinary person these things are there, like Constitution of India, which is talking about developing a scientific temperament, and education policy also. And this science, technology, and innovation policy is also talking about public understanding of science and technology. And IPR issues, like suppose if you want to file a patent, uh, especially like the grassroots innovation. So how a person will, without understanding that science, will be filing its patent. And then the Sustainable Development Goal, Child Health Convention. These are the you can say some of those uh, 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 policies, or the system which is asking for, like, we have to do that science communication. And if you look at these STI policy of 2013, I think 2 3 pages has been devoted to science communication and public understanding of science and technology. And these are some of the major agendas. I think Dr. Pateria has already told you. I'll not and most of this the in this, like, the whatever we have achieved, especially if we look at in terms of the gap areas. uh, Interestingly, the paradigm of science communication is not yet come out from the paradigm of science education. So for that there is a separate system, but we still, most of the science which is being written through magazine, newspaper, it's their focus is only on children, not, they generally ignore the common people. And then now let's come to the science communication, because as a researcher, when I have been asked to do the popular science writing, my problems start from that day itself, because uh, we are talking about the modern science, which is a Western word, and most of the literature is available in foreign language. So I am actually stuck up with doing translation in the sense, and for which majority of the time I don't find a suitable terminology. Then I fall back to the original terminology which is used in technical paper. And as a researcher, if I look at it, my the for majority of us, the medium of education also remain a foreign language, that is the English. So converting my thought process into a popular article in a way by which I can connect to my target group. Sometimes we find it a difficult, but it's not, because it's a science writing or developing yourself as a science communicator is a process. It's not a one night job by taking certain tips and you become a very good communicator. It's a process. Through a slow process, you understand the complications, the realization on your part, how to connect with your research. I think with the help of few case studies, I will try to explain those things. And first of all, let's very clear about this the scientific and the what is constitute the scientific writing and a popular science writing. Uh, when we do the scientific writing, because I know for getting the PhD degree we have to publish 2 or 3 papers, and that paper should be for our peers group. They should be published in a technical journal, uh, and it is reviewed by our peers, in the sense like if we say the American Chemical Society is or the Nature, or if in I'll take an example of Indian thing is current science, and then it is for the scientific community. It's only for the people who understand my thought in my language, where I'm using all that technical terminology. And but now here, if we have to look at like why we have to convert our research to a popular science, is because uh, now the science has become so specialized. Even if I am a chemistry man, I may not be able to understand what is happening in the life science. Or if I'm a physicist, I may not be able to understand what is happening in a chemical chemistry or biology, or because now it's a more interdisciplinary kind of thing. So here, even my peers, scientists, if I take my scientist community as a peers, may not constitute my peers. I have to consider them as a general public for my article when I'm writing a popular article. And it is always about the new knowledge. Means when you're doing your research, you it is expected that you are generating a new knowledge, and which you want to communicate among your community, among your peers. And most of the time, or it's always in a technical term, and there are a lot of table figure references which make that reading for an ordinary person a very cumbersome process. If suppose if I give my technical paper to a journalist, like this is the outcome of my research in for last 1 year 2 year, you would make an article out of that and publish it. Do you think he will be able to do that? No, he will not, because he is may or may not have a scientific background. But when we say about the popular science writing, it is always published in a newspaper, magazine, blog, and so on. And it is for everyone, including the scientists, which are not as a part of your peers group, but maybe other scientists not from that area. And it is knowledge review, in the sense it could be, we call it a mediation theory, in the sense like whatever you have written, as an individual I will look at it and I will try to review that knowledge. And it is always in a simple term, and there are we use a lot of analogies here, because sometimes it is very difficult. We don't have a proper word to communicate that particular phenomena, or that process. So in that case, we can use a lot of analogies and examples and illustration to clarify the point. And uh, Okay. And this technical communication disclose your finding to the relevant research community, as I told you, to your peers. And the other purpose of sharing your research is to secure the funding through grants and all that, and support career advancement, because it help you to build your career in research. And but when we are talking about the popular science, it is inform the general public of the purpose and the importance of your work. It's not about securing the funding, but to get the support for the people, whether a particular research has to be done or not. Generally, we don't have that awareness level in India. But if we look at the means like the country, like Europe and this thing, the you might have seen the kind of the environment or the support system which was built around this GMO crop thing, whether it has to be done or not. And this is also to promote the value of science to government to ensure global funding. It's also because many times if our political leadership is not convinced about that research, whether it should be done or not, then it will be difficult. And it is to be like told to them in a language which they can understand, because in all the political leadership or the all other political leaders or the policy maker may or may not have that kind of understanding of science. So if we have to convince them, how you will do that and engage the students, definitely, because it is always a question of making them being a source of inspiration to them, that this is the kind of science which is being done in our India, and uh, if they can also take up in their future uh, for the same. Uh, So basic of popular science writing is as Albert Einstein, because Albert Einstein was always initially when he got a Nobel Prize, and most of the people didn't knew that the Nobel Prize came for photoelectric effect, not for the theory of relativity. So he used to say that people know me more than my work. So then he said, like, if you want to convey about your research to the people, first is think in your mother tongue, and you need to have the basic understanding of science. If this is done, then I think the your work will be very easy. It's because many time we need the basic science which has been in the textbook of NCRT from 10th class to 12th class. If we have those fundamentals are clear, I think then giving more detail, writing our research in a simple way is it become very easy. And he also made a statement that if you want to take science to the people, first communicate it with your grandparents. This is possible if you yourself have the basic understanding of science, because that means I think he has put a benchmark. If your parents or grandparents are able to understand what work you are doing, I think you are successful, and then you can very easily you can write about the work which you are doing. Here I would like to mention one the book, The Brief History of Time by Stephen Hawking. If you see that book, I think it's simple narration, and only one equation he has used of Einstein, that is E is equal to mc square. There's a single only equation he has used, and it is the you can you may know that this is the most widely purchased book by the people. I don't know whether people have read it or not, because when I ask in kind of a meeting with our student whether you have read this book, I think I found a majority of them, they have heard about this book, but they have not read it. So if you want, like, you want to be a good popular science writer, I think you must read that book, how those complicated uh, concepts, principle of science has been used in a narrative without going or without using any technical term. I think you can make that book as your bible when initially when you are planning to write about your research in a popular way. uh, Okay, so technical and non-technical writing, as I told you, I have given you the this thing. Uh, your article about your research could be a news article, a news and view, or highlights, or it may have a infographic, or it could be a in the form of press release. Because now Vigyan Prasar is releasing, science Samachar one program where we are getting the write-ups from different laboratories of our in India, and whatever the research or breakthrough which has been taking place is being compiled and released as a to the various press. And it can be a press release and government brief, especially when the update is put up in parliament or in different committees. and the social media, blog, post, and interview with a news outlet. So sometime, as Dr. Patelia has also told you, he gave the example of Nobel Prize. When you are selected for Nobel Prize, and during that you have to deliver a talk, popular talk on your research. So when like some press person is approaching you, you have to give an interview. So then I think as I told you, he is not aware of those uh, about the deep science of that. So he will be only, he need a social connect, he need a relevancy to the people in terms of. So here comes all these things are as one, as a researcher or as a scientist should do as its social responsibility in terms of taking science to the people. And when we say that the technical communication, research article or review article generally, and it has an abstract or a poster if you're presenting in a conference, and conference presentation, then you need technical writing in thesis for grant proposal and job interview, because now most of the company uh, uh, SNT based companies are when you are invited for interview, they ask about your research. So there you can present your research in a with a you can do, or you can establish that communication in a technical way, but not otherwise. So so this is technical paper when we are writing, or technical paper versus popular science writing. Technical paper, create a useful outline, gather data, determine the major advance that emerge from the study, and ask question. This is called 5W, and uh, then carefully organize the data by importance and consider possible figure where they should appear in the text, and review your outline with a colleague to see if you have not missed any key point, and start out uh, outline early in the project and do not wait until the end. This is our advice when you're writing your technical paper, because but uh, sorry, I'm not able to move my slide. Dr. Bharat, yeah, I think
मैं चेक करता हूँ एक
this it has stuck up.
Tyagi
Sorry,
sir,
I'm not.
somebody was asking about book name which you
Yeah.
mentioned. What was that book name?
Okay. ये
You mentioned one book, na?
ये क्या है? Now, I think, sorry, there was an interruption. Uh, so,
Yeah,
yeah. So now, if you have to tell your story, make sure that the paper has a main theme and a punchline, because this is very important. Generally, we have seen, because I was also involved in this AWSAR entries which were received by Vigyan in terms of reviewing them, and we find most of the time whatever the title of their research they have, same has been given as a title. No, because here this is not for peers, it is for the common man. So here we title what, or a punchline has to be made in such a way that the reader can establish a connect immediately with that, and we should avoid this the dumping of this data, and provide context to the prior literature and cite the original work in reference section, and explain why the problem is important. and share experimental detail that would allow a reasonably educated person in your field to perform the experiment and analyze the data accurately and objectively. This is even we when we are writing a semi-technical paper, but when it will take the form of a popular level, I think then again we have to rework on that and provide a strong conclusion describing how your work move in the field of forward, but be realistic. This is again semi technical, but now uh, again this is stuck the Bharat.
हाँ, 1 मिनट देखता हूँ.
Yes, okay. एक मिनट, यहीं पे बैठ जाओ. So now on the screen, you see there is a technical paper which has been written for a technical journal, and the title they have is used like wireless sensor network of condition monitoring in a railway industry, a survey. So it was about again as a result of some research, this paper was written where their abstract is there, their diagram is there, and then there is an introduction, there is a methodology, and then the discussion, finding, and finally the conclusion or recommendation. So but popular article, they don't have this kind of thing. I'll give you an example from a story which was so here, consider the following when you are writing, the popular writing. Who will read your title and how will be your title will be found? How you will title be used and what is being presented and what is of interest to the audience and what will be clear and what will catch attention and what are the key descriptive terms. Maximum of 20 words, grammatically sound, resonate with the TOC, image, graph, abstract, avoid buzzwords and hard to justify claim like first and only, generally, and avoid listing potential applications and avoid acronyms tends to have little meaning outside a specific area. So this is again for technical or semi-technical paper. And but now look at this was a technical paper came out from a lab from Germany, where the research was they find a steroid in a spinach, and they proved it experimentally. There was a control group and there was a like a number of people, I think more than 100 people were part of that study, and they found the spinach is having a is having a steroid which enhance the muscle power. So here this was the research, and this journalist took up this story and look at the title, because now the familiar cartoon film of papayas, because he's always eating spinach to make himself with the full of energy or muscular power. This was a clear cut in the back of each reader, because this is a very popular, so there was already a connect with the research, and the title has is not talking about the research in the title itself. The scientists say vegetable has a steroid like chemical and must be on the list of prohibited item of athletes. Now this story here, the name of the steroid has been given, but it is like the main context here is asking the Olympic authority which are doing those dope tests that this is a edible product. if a player is eating it constantly, I think, and it increasing their muscle strength, it is an artificial, it's not. So that they it, this the taste of this the test of this steroid should be done on players. So this was the recommendation of this article by the journalist, in the sense, because here now it has a as a part of mediation which was done by the journalist, has certain biasness, in the sense, like if you look at the Indian athletes, majority of them are vegetarian and they eat only, the spinach majority of the time, for building up the muscles. So that means majority of the Indian player would find that steroid during the, if the test is done on that. So you can see, like, the one story leads to another story, where as a taking it as a secondary source of information, or the data, you can build up your own story in an Indian context, giving more such example. So now you can see the title, which has not, directly talking about those complicated mechanism of the steroid, how it's work, but for a common man, this information is sufficient. So now, second story was only on this the diagnostic, change of heart diagnostic number to make sense of this ECG report, because this was again a very interesting research from Indian labs only. They are talking about, like, when we have our ECG, it form a particular pattern whether your heart is healthy or not. But if we go slightly more into more detailing, it can tell you the real problem of your heart, in the sense, like, it was further, providing many layers to the ECG to for the diagnostic of heart problem. So this was a very interesting story from Indian lab, and which was a part of Department of Science and Technology funding scheme only. And now look at this. There are certain, which has been on a different website and all that. That ancient ink for a cancer treatment. It was a like something chemical which is used by in China for making drawings and all that, and it was found it has a potential to be, to cure the cancer patient, like that. And there are many more such story. If you can see, musical sensor shows the bad medicine play false note. This is again like a method to test, or the potency, or you can say uh, the impact in terms of using an musical instrument. And also here, this was a very interesting, in the sense, this was the label-free optic detection of multiple biomakers in sweat and plasma, urine, and saliva. So now this was a technique where the without taking your blood sample, you can find out the you can do the testing by using as a biomarker, using your sweat, your plasma, your urine, and saliva. Now this the most beneficial impact of this is about a neonatal care, or especially when a child has to be tested whether it has a jaundice or not. All the time, it is an invasive method which we have all the time. So this method is giving a alternate to the invasive method, that you don't require at all the blood sample of the child, newly born child, to test the that for jaundice. So here, not only that, if we look at in Indian context, I think this is the most relevant in terms of doing that. So this kind of, they have a direct public, a utility, that finding of that research give a benefit to the society, and to the industries also. Like, if suppose we are talking about whatever is going on in our lab, suppose if the labs are not means like publicly funded, then the whatever or research, or suppose if you are doing a research in a public funded lab, or your project is supported by government of India, how you will convey to the industry that you have already achieved that breakthrough in terms of developing the vaccine, because you yourself cannot do it. It has to, the industry has to take come into as a partner to take it further to the people. So communicating it to the industry is a prime responsibility, and here it has to be communicated the potential benefit and how it is being done to the people in terms of uh, making it more popular. And when the demand will come, definitely, like if you look at this as a biomarker insight and all that about your health, it's just one fantastic. So this kind of thing, most of this you can say the comments and all that, which came into that, and the story was picked up by this research was picked up for story by many newspaper and this by bloggers and uh, the other means on digital media. You can see these are different title you can see which has been picked up by device in a device in the work for home based stress monitoring. Like if you need to detect, this is just one outcome of that. The new home testing kit measures stress level in sweat and blood. An engineer creates a simple test that can measure stress uh, uh, which can measure stress hormone in sweat, blood, urine, and saliva. So these are like immediately a commoner can connect, like what is the research, what is the finding, and how they can be benefited. So this is the way I think when we are writing about our research, these aspects need to be looked at and create our own story. Uh, we, Writing popular science article with style and substance, opening paragraph setting the hook, because here if your reader is not able to create an interest most of the time, now again I'm using my experience with the stories which last year we have evaluated. The story started, they say we said like write your own story, because here I think I found the communication uh, part, and the communication has gone wrong. Most of the I found a very, I mean, substantial number of stories which started with when I was a child. It was my dream to do my PhD. So, but we are talking about the story of your research, not your personal story. So, I think this should have been avoided, and it was a so be specific about the title and when you are the initial paragraph, how you can create that interest or that curiosity, which because for any scientific article or whether in information going in any form, it has a, you have to create a curiosity first, and it should be at the peak itself. It should be in a reverse, pyramid form, and then in between you try to satisfy the explain the part, and finally the by giving the most important aspect, satisfying the curiosity, you close the article. And this could be a, with an open code, as in novel dialogue is inherently interesting. Set up the scenes, use descriptive detail to make reader feel they are in action, and begin with an anecdote stories and to draw the reader's attention. Start with the surprising fact or statistics that make the reader wow, because wow factor is very important. Not only like you are writing your story, but you have to sell your story also if it is written, because most of the time we have found the story which we received, uh, the title is same whatever their PhD title, and whatever the progress report which is being submitted, quarterly to your department, same report has been sent as an article. I think please don't do that. Draw the popular culture or common experience. Don't use those equations or technical word or even um, uh, uh, I have seen a lot of this alpha, beta, gamma kind of thing which has been used. And try think about a friend or a parents while writing, and begin with the information that would be more interesting to that person. I think these are again, it is making them not only socially relevant, but First is to establish a connect with the reader, how the reader will find this information useful, even if it's useful in an interesting way. And you are free to use some of those uh, you can say the now the illustration and the other things are also possible. And see the sorry, again this stuck up. Okay, so it is good idea to balance heavy data with lighter, more engaging content. As you've seen, this the article which was written on this papayas eating that spinach, and draft an outline before writing the body to ensure frequent alteration between data, description, example, and anecdotes, and quotation from expert in the field. Popular science writing can be structured in many ways, and creativity is always welcome, because here it's your personal, creativity, which can because sometimes one writer is good, other is not good, or someone is writing a story in a very interesting way, but other is not. So it depends how you structured, you conceive your story, and it is important, however, to be sure that the transition between ideas are smooth and logical to avoid confusing the reader, because it should be a simple narrative, in the sense like a storytelling, which we our our grandparents used to tell us. I don't know, because you youngsters may or may not have this experience, but it was our grandparent used to be a fantastic communicator in terms of telling stories and retaining our interest till the end of the story. So I think this kind of skill, or the experience, I think you can share, or you can have from your parents or grandparents before you finalize your this thing and conclude. And this is like conclusion should be make the reader feel that the time he or she has spent on the article is not, it wasn't a waste. It was a well spent time, and in word the reader should feel satisfied by the experience, and it is truly successful conclusion will also inspire the reader to seek out the additional information about the topic. Because I have seen many times when I see a story, I myself go to the original source to look at it, and in what way this can be further useful to the society, or to the people, and how this information, because this in time now I have used lot of secondary information, especially when we are talking about this the corona pandemic, because the research are still going on, and still it has not been converted into a knowledge. There are different claim, and most of them are based on statistical studies, survey based, so find, which are not supported or backed up by the actual research. So whether to take them on their face value, or to take them with a pinch of salt, is again like taking a informed decision, or based on the information which is available before us. Now let's uh, uh, again, I'm taking a quote by Einstein. Say, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Means like you have not understood your own research if you cannot communicate this to in a simple way. Because most of the time I have seen this is a problem with most of our researchers, or scientists, I should say. They are not able to communicate their research, or even if some journalist, or some media man is approaching them, they find it a bit difficult in terms of uh, giving that concept without using a technical terminology. So here I'll give you a few examples how, in terms of Corona, we have used giving a main information which is supported by a illustration, which has a some humor, some negative humor in the sense of black humor, just to in a way to as a punchline. Okay, so let's see. This was about because this was the seventh virus, SARS virus, which COVID, which has caused the pandemic of this COVID-19. So he is saying like this: out of seven, there's all of flu viruses. SARS-1 and MARS, and the other one. They're saying uh, now this is the time, because there is no vaccine, no standardized protocol, and it is spreading throughout the world, and it's saying now this is the time for me, for a unlimited opportunity to rule the world. So this is the this SARS COVID 2 is saying about 10, and all other viruses which are, are behind that. He is much more in forefront of creating that pandemic. And now this was a based on a initial research paper, how this virus is genetically modified itself, or no, sorry, it has mutated itself physiologically and structurally. So, and it is saying with an article which said like this is SARS-1 and this is SARS-2. So then my cousin SARS-1 is bit dumb, I am smart. So it is saying promoted with additional site for replication, because with this SARS-2, with this virus, it has a additional site of replication in our respiratory tract, because the SARS-1 used to multiply in the lungs only, and once the full bloom symptoms appeared in a patient, he used to be identified and taken for the treatment. But here the SARS-1, SARS-2 is smart in the sense like it is affecting the throat, and that time it is not producing any symptoms. So a person is infected, and it become a silent spreader, so it become a carrier. So that's why like only the test is the only mechanism. So this time this kind of information we are trying to communicate to the people using these kinds of cartoon or infographics, and giving some basic information. There's like SARS-2 take residence in the throat cell first, which does not cause significant symptom in the host. The infected person remain asymptomatic, or at the worst feel common cold-like symptom. Such person can readily spread the virus to others. In a week time, the virus moves to the lung and replicates SARS-1, causing severe symptoms. So this is the basic information, and based on that, we have made this cartoon to make the thing bit visually clear, and how this SARS-2 is more dangerous than the SARS-1 in terms of its spread. And this is again was to create that awareness. So because there is no vaccine, no standardized protocol, so there are a lot of information about these this virus, and this virus strain, they are relaxing. And the female strain, we have some imagination has been used here. It's say, are we safe now, dear? So the other virus is saying yes, no vaccine, no evolutionary pressure to find a new host. Just relax, darling, because now this virus has no evolutionary pressure in terms of, because there is no vaccine just now. Till the vaccine or treatment is not there, it is free to replicate, and it has also find an additional site of replication in the body. So for them just now there is no danger for this virus. So it was just to create a importance about the vaccine or the absence of vaccine, and only the COVID norms which different health administration or scientific community has issued to the people, which include wearing mask, finding or wearing mask, keeping social distance, and washing hands, etc., are to be followed. That was just to create that awareness. And now, interestingly, like in India, in many states, especially UP, Bihar, and Jharkhand, this the coronavirus has been treated as a new avatar of a deity. They call it a Corona Maya. And now here it was again to just to create a humor, like some old virus like yellow fever, chicken pox, rabies, and this the AIDS also. They are saying, I'm very sad and angry. No respect for oldies. Corona is being given a status of deity, Corona Maya, and it's so new. So we oldies has been ignored. So this is again giving information about those virus which create generally pandemic or epidemic. And now the recent thing which is happening, like giving a status instead of people not understanding the science of this virus, but treating it as a curse of God or nature, and they are trying and they are worshipping it. So this is, you can say, the information gap, the two culture which we initially talked about, like scientific culture and the common man's culture, which is there is a lot of gap between both of them. So, and if when the gap will remain, this kind of situation will emerge. This is the whole concept of science communication, or the importance of science communication, which we're talking about. So here again we have say this person is a this positive, corona positive, but it is not showing any symptoms, and you can see, but he is a carrier. So you may not know who is the carrier of SARS 2, the virus responsible for COVID 19 pandemic. That's why, like, the whole concept of social distancing has come. If you maintain that distance, if you use because it's spread through the small droplets of saliva, especially when the virus is replicating in the throat. So this is very important, and this is the reason why it is spreading so fast as compared to SARS-1. This was again a cartoon, because I have a, this was an example which we have taken. Like, people were defying, they were not following the COVID norms, and the government, especially the Delhi police, has taken an action. So in one day itself, it's more than 200 and 2,700 people were fined. So now this the herd of this sheep is, they are talking. They're saying, "Thank God we are not human beings, and Corona has not affected us. Otherwise, maintaining that social distancing would have been very difficult." So, but the other ship is saying, even those human beings, though are capable of maintaining the social distancing, they're also not maintaining it. Okay, so this was giving a message of importance of social distancing through this cartoon or infographic. And this is again like when you have to suppose by compulsion you have to use a technical term which has to be defined. So here, like, we have tried to define the herd immunity, the concept of herd immunity. So there are the on one side we have given the entire information what is the herd immunity is, and here they are through, so to provide a lighter movement to the concept is like there are two herds which are talking. The herd leader is talking to each other, say, we are not human, and coronavirus does not affect us. Why they are talking about our herd and its immunity? So then the other ship is saying, calm down, dear. It's not about that. It's a method used by human to control the spread of coronavirus. Without a vaccine, they need to get the infection first and recover from it. So this is the concept of herd immunity, which has been explained through this infographic or cartoon, whatever you may call it. And this is again like for some information about in this is again science tool, which is our one of our friend has created this, which is now accepted in most of this technical journal as a uh, as a valid way of communication. So which is called a science tool. And here these are two cacti which are talking to each other, and here we have given how the desert area has been increasing every year, and what area is known as a desert. So basic information is given on one side, and to be providing a relief to the reader is like there. This is a cartoon. They said we have no words to pay our thanks to these human beings for providing us much more accommodation. That's true every year. Then this is again our if future thing, like they say it is a very urgent. There are two media men, and they say ki, I have seen a tree. So he say it's very urgent, you immediately spend a camera team. I got a person who have seen our tree. So this is again about about the pollution, or the forest deforestation part, which is just to create. So these are some of those Like, yeah, one example. So here, Brownian movement, again, a very complicated term for a common man. So the zigzag movement of suspended particle in a fluid medium is called Brownian movement. So here, this basic information is given, and here is like one policeman is saying to the scientist, "This is not your lab, and remember, professor, don't use Brownian movement when you are on the road." So you can imagine, like, yes. These are again few more such cartoon. Here, there is a interesting is like our on our traditional knowledge system. Here, most of the time we don't know uh, uh, on that. So this is one scientist is asking about the this picture pot. So he's saying our I like the water. It was very sweet, cold, and tasty. But uh, how do you cool it? Where do you install compressor, thermostat, and regulator in this? Can you show me the? Can you show me, please? So these are some of these cartoon, or you can say. So I started my talk with the Ghalib Sahab because I'm a great fan of Ghalib Janab. I say, but I want you to be all Ghalib in terms of when you're doing the popular science writing. You should have your own style, your own like signature to the article. Because so one should, whenever one uh, read the first para itself or the title itself, they should know that it is written by our one of our young researchers. So, like Galib, people used to say, or Galib himself said about that, कि है और भी दुनिया में सुखनवर बहुत अच्छे, यानी कि there are a lot of skilled people in this world, but कहते हैं कि गालिब का अंदाजे बयां और है. So I want all of you and my best wishes to all our young scientists, to researchers, to be a Galib in your own way by adopting or by taking this popular science writing in a regular way and join the community of science communicator. So I think thank you. I hope I was able to convey or shared my experience of last 3 4 years with the AWSAR program and my things which as a career as a science communicator also I have been you can say enjoying before having this project. So thank you very much. And if there are any questions, uh,
Uh, Thank you, Tyagi sir.
yeah,
Uh,
if there are questions, I think we can take
so
it.
there are a few questions. There are a few questions. I will read that,
Yeah,
and you can respond to that.
yeah, yeah.
So, can the story have science fiction angle?
Science fiction.
Science fiction. Yeah.
Uh, no. I think this is we are talking about a very hardcore science, and this competition is to write about your research which you are doing. So science fiction is another, you can say, a method of we are talking about writing article, not fiction or fantasies. So this particular competition, if you take it as a competition, I think you cannot submit that science fiction. But yes, you can write because there are other magazines who are publishing regularly those science fiction. And but here again, I have a word of caution because. There are a lot of research paper were written on when this first time when this film Jurassic Park was released, and because the contention was whether,
So, sir, question is now it's more elaborative now.
yeah,
So, can a author include science fiction in their own research while writing popular science?
no. For AWSAR, no, I think AWSAR is a very specific program where you have to tell a story of your research.
And can the science fiction platform can be used, and part of that can be you can say supplement to the research which they are doing.
See, when okay, I think when you see, tell your this is word here. Story has been used as a metaphor. If you look at tell your story about your research, so tell your story about your research.
Hmm.
We are saying that. So we are not saying this. You build up another story which is not part of your story. When you are
So
writing
it
a
should be it should be part of their own research what researchers are pursuing.
yes, when they are submitting it for AWSAR, they cannot do
Okay.
that science fiction in AWSAR. But
Another question was
generally,
that can we publish same outcome as research article and popular science article?
oh yes, of course, because there are two different format. Your target group is different. Okay, so I think in AWSAR also we also bring generally. I think last 2 years we have been brought out one compendium. So this compendium can also be used as a you can quote your this thing, but it should be in a popular way, as I told you, and it can be done because you're finding your writing a technical paper is different and writing in a popular way is different. You can do very much because most of the science which other people are taking as an like writing science or using a secondary source of information, they're using technical paper. When I do that, suppose if I found something interesting in your research paper on a technical research paper, and I know that much science and I know the popular science writing, and generally most of the science writing in India is done only on this secondary source. So you can do that. There is no technical hindrance in doing so. Yeah.
Okay, another question is that can we share research story of already published research article? So we can. Yeah, you can submit your research story based on your
Yeah,
published research also.
you can do that, but you
Huh.
during when you are submitting, you should be in an active phase of research. Means you have not submitted your thesis, you are still pursuing your research. So that is the only that blockage. You're entering into the research and you're out of the research. You have already finished your research. So within that block, entering and uh, uh, before you're out from the active research, that is the phase within which that made you eligible to submit your story to the expert.
Okay, there are a lot of questions are
So
there regarding e-certificate. So I will
yeah,
like to answer that.
yeah, yeah.
E-certificate will be issued based on your form. We are going to mail you the registration form. Sorry, not registration form, feedback form, and you have to fill that feedback form. Then only you will be able to get the certificate. So that will be mailed to your registered mail ID. Another question is, can you submit your research story in video form?
No, 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 no. It's only for print
Okay, so
media. It is
one minute. Can you
just
submit your story in video form other than writing form? So for AWSAR, it's only written form.
yeah, because it is a for print media only. No?
Okay. You shown the coronavirus with male and female symbol. To
Yeah.
which extent that fantasy is accepted?
Yes. Okay. Because here, I generally there are state in there is no positive or negative, just to make it to eye catchy. Sometime this kind of liberty, creative liberty, uh, you can take when you are doing a popular science, right? Yeah. Otherwise, you have to entering
So
into another layer of explaining that there are different stain and all that. So just to make it looking too differently. Okay, so that this much you can say the creative liberty you can use, not factually, but you're drawing it. Yeah.
can the research story be little more broad and cover more than the specific set of objectives?
That depends on how what exactly you want to. We are not asking a summary of your research. I think again we have to be very clear and careful. We are not asking for the your summary of your research. We are asking a popular article about your research. Now it depends on you. It may give you to be focused on a specific point, or your entire thing should explain. Like I gave you the example of that German research. There, the whole research was uh, finding, isolating, and testing a particular steroid, on its impact on the human strength. That was the whole storyline. So now, out of that, which part is more attractive, which can correlate to the people much more easily, contemporarily relevant, or its relevancy is more. It depends on you, how you perceive, how you conceptualize your article, and there may be 4 to 5 popular article from a single research on a different aspect. That depend.
Another question is that can we write a research story based on the unpublished research?
Unpublished research, yes.
They can.
Yes, yes,
They can.
yes, yes, yes.
But it should be related to the research being carried out during
Yes,
their
what?
research
Yes,
tenancy.
it should be your own research, because initial phase generally we spend time in literature survey, and that should not form the major base for your story. There your own add-on is required, either in the lab or in the field. That depends on what kind of research you are doing. So means like
Okay.
yeah.
Can you suggest some more interesting book which can help to enhance
uh,
their writing?
Writing skill, there are a lot of, because now if you just open, type the word Google on, sorry, or you type the word science communication on Google, I think you will have more than lakhs of books and papers and blogs and individual who you can find those sharing of experience. No, only I gave the example of that brief history of time of Stephen Hawking's, because to me I find it is the best narrative in terms of uh, talking about the origin of universe till the theory of relativity and the latest thing, because how we are looking the universe through the 4 fundamental forces, and that make the reading very interesting. I think you all must
Okay,
have
another
to read
question is that can we write our article as conversation between two person or things? Yeah,
it.
you can write.
That then it became a drama. But you can make it in the sense like, see, there is no such one single format. You can always do the experimentation, but you have to see yourself how effectively your research has been communicated. Suppose I can imagine you are saying, like, you are talking to your grandmother who is asking such questions, and you are explaining that. Yes, I think that can be a good format. You can do that, but you yourself has to be satisfied that your narration or your narrative has been able to establish the basic essence of your research, because you are the best judge for that. Okay.
Okay, another is the can we submit in regional language? As of now, only English and Hindi are accepted.
Yes, 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 yes.